Hello, Peter. Peter Gottsacker. It's such a pleasure to have you here. I've had the pleasure to meet you in person as well, and you have left a real impression with me and on me. And it's great to see you again. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to see you too, Peggy. Likewise. I mean, meeting you at Super Zoo and talking with you, it really left a mark. So I'm glad that you reached out again.
Great. So, Peter, you want to tell us a bit what you're doing and who you're working for, what family you're coming from? I think that people kind of know about you, but it's always good for everybody to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, so Peter Gottsacker. I work at Gott Pet Products. We manage two brands, Charlie Bear Dog Treats and Hound and Gatos wet canned cat and dog food. So my technical role is the director of supply chain, but we're a small family-owned company, so wear a lot of different hats overall. Do a lot of kind of finance, accounting, supply chain procurement, all sorts of stuff, as well as help and dabble a bit in marketing and all sorts of different areas.
Nice. So this is a family business. What generation is it?
Second generation. So
Great.
Originally started off with my dad. And I just got into the industry about 3 years ago after I had spent time out in Kansas City working for Ernst Young in financial services auditing.
Right. Very different, right?
Yes, very different. Yeah, a very different feel for sure. Something that I loved about the pet industry and that really drew me to it was that people are so passionate in it. And I mean, I have got a dog myself. I feel very passionate for her health, for her well-being. And I mean, every single time when you go out, at all these conferences or meet people in the industry, everyone's just really passionate, trying to do the best.
So true. I'm so sorry. This is my French clock in my office. She's a bit intense. So yeah, that's quite a jump from the financial industry to the pet industry. So what is your transfer knowledge, which really is useful now? What could you transfer in terms of your knowledge, where you say, this is actually giving us even potentially an advantage now?
Yeah, I think overall, just kind of the being in that different industry, fast growing, fast moving, fast paced, really understanding and taking some lessons from that, that sometimes you need to move forward, right? And things aren't always going to be perfect, but you need to really take advantage of moments when you have them and not sit back and wait for the perfect time. That really getting out there and innovating and leading, there's never a perfect time to do it. So
that's so cool, Peter, because we had that conversation, right? I always say, because in my Decide with Grace framework, I always say, it's always momentum before perfection, because otherwise you never move. So
right.
This is great. Yes, absolutely. So what do you think this industry is going to become, let's say in 2 to 3 years? I don't want to use the window of 5 years anymore, because with technological change and AI, everything is becoming very quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that honestly, kind of with that move to AI, and people kind of feeling at times that brands and products can be disconnected, I really think that a big thing that's going to move the industry forward is that emotional and public intimacy, and kind of brands that can connect with people more so than anything, that have a message that ring true with the consumer. I think that's going to become more and more important as, like you said, AI gets out there. Everyone can throw a message out there at any time about one thing or another, but really a big piece of it is staying true to that original brand promise that you have and really delivering for your customers.
Yeah, you're making a very good point. It's this authenticity part which becomes super relevant. I actually read a fantastic article yesterday. If you're interested, I have to dig it out. On Nike, how they lost so much market share the share went down massively last year. And they kind of analyzed it, and they figured out that yes, it was managed in a very structured way. It was, I think, not an Ernst Young guy, but a financial guy who managed that brand. for not a long time. But what happened is they completely lost the creativity and authenticity of the brand.
Right.
Like this core which connects with the consumer on a heart level, rather than on a head level. And that's kind of what you're pointing out. And I think that's something which really is so essential in our industry, and which some people still don't understand, right? Some people still think we're just selling dog food, or we're just,
No, I agree. You tell people who aren't in the industry and all that, saying, oh yeah, I sell dog treats, I sell dog food, all that. Oh, so you're grabbing some byproducts from like human grade. No. People are very, very passionate about all this. You need a lot of times it's more buttoned up than even human food.
I would agree.
You really need to have everything on top of it, because the consumer is much pickier, right? They're looking at all of those ingredient decks all the way through, and they're saying, hey, this 7th item vitamin, this, that, or the other, are you sure that this needs to be in there? I've read a study that it might have a negative effect, right? So you really got to be buttoned up on everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you do it? I remember, because you're very accessible, right? You're very accessible to the consumer. And I think that's one of your values you really kind of keep safe and sake.
Yeah.
So you're very accessible for the consumer. So what about the distribution? What's your vision on the distribution in the future? What's like the core to be successful with your brand in a distribution channel?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that we're looking at going forward is, obviously we've seen the growth in the online market, right? But there's still so many consumers going through, the regular chains, going into a store, going into a mom and pop pet shop, and really seeing that you can't just be focusing on, one or the other. It'll lead to kind of the detriment of the brand overall. So our overall distribution, we're looking at, seeing some studies and all that. They call them omni shoppers, right? So people who will look online for the best deal and maybe would buy there, but also will go in store, in person. So it's, you really have to focus on, all channels associated to it. It's difficult, but definitely something that's needed.
But it kind of ties in with what you mentioned before, right? If the brand is strong enough, it has a connection to the consumer. So frankly, oh God, like, may all the pet independents forgive me, but basically it needs to be accessible for the consumer, right?
Yeah.
Not only for the person who goes into independent pet stores, because all of us shop at grocery stores, all of us do big box. So that's kind of the magic, I guess.
Yeah, no, and really cultivating that customer loyalty is a big deal for us. We've heard from a number of our distributors, a number of our consumers, where they would take one or two of our products off shelf, for one reason or another. Someone bought the space or something like that, and they would just get a wave of complaints from people saying, hey, where's the Charlie Bear? And so then they would bring it back on. And honestly, that customer loyalty does more for us than anything, right? More than any amount that we spend in marketing or anything like that. Yeah.
Yes. How do you get this loyalty? Is it built over time? Of course, but I think it's also, the major currency here is trust, I guess.
No, completely agree. I think, like you said, it is definitely built over time. We've been around for a long time in the industry, so the people who use us know that they can trust us, and we're a trusted brand out there. But also just being as transparent as we can. Having a call line, a helpline. When people call in and say, "Hey, this didn't agree with my dog's stomach. Do you know why that might be?" We send it along and really look into, well, hey, here's some potential causes. Maybe try this different protein. Maybe try this. And also knowing that sometimes, if a product doesn't agree with an animal, it just doesn't agree, and not trying to force someone into feeding their dog our treats or feeding them our food. sometimes if it doesn't agree with them, it just doesn't agree with them. And, you know.
So how do you handle innovation, and what role does innovation play in your mind in the future?
Yeah, for us, innovation is really a key to what we're trying to accomplish, especially in these upcoming years. We really want to be innovators in the space, but we also want to have innovation with a purpose, right? You don't want to just have something for the sake of having something.
Having it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're saying you don't want to commoditize, you want to basically add value.
Correct. Yeah. So, you know, one of the things we don't currently have a soft, chewy kind of treat, right? So we've talked about it internally, and really the questions come up, well, what additional can we offer in that market, right? There's a lot already out there, in the soft, chewy area. We don't want to just create a soft, chewy treat for the sake of creating a soft, chewy treat. So really looking at innovating with a purpose. One of the big key areas that we've been hitting on recently is functionality. So making sure that, new treats, we have a new line of toppers that came out that add a benefit to the consumer, right? So you can feel good, hey, I'm giving my dog a treat, but also there's benefits in there, it's helping their stomach, or it's helping their coat, or a number of different areas.
Right. Yes, functional treats is a big deal. I think sometimes, at least in my experience, they have the disadvantage that yes, they're called functional, but then the base of the treat is actually not very, it doesn't really carry a high standard, right? So I think it's just because it's called functional. That's another marketing thing, right? Some brands try to get around, they're calling it functional. It might be functional somehow.
Right.
Base, the meat they use or the byproducts they put in there are not very, beneficial for the animal.
Right. And we try to stay on top of that as well. We want to make sure we're using the best stuff for these pets, and really, like you said, or continuing to drive that loyalty, knowing that what we're putting out there is trusted, and that it's got the benefits, and that it's good for the animals as well.
Yeah. So sometimes our category is compared with baby food. Do you agree with that?
I could definitely see that. Yeah, no. Yep. I can 100%. So I don't have any children currently, but I do have 9 nephews and 2 nieces. And I can tell you that my sisters, when they're out there looking for baby food, very particular, right? Similar to the pet parent, reading through all the ingredients, going all the way down and saying, well, what's this, last piece, this last ingredient on the deck, what is that? What's the benefit of it? Or is it just a filler kind of deal? So I would agree with that 100%. That's funny.
Yeah.
That you put that up.
Yeah. And that's kind of a sign of the humanization of the pet, right? I mean, today a pet or a dog often is seen as a full-fledged family member. I mean, I have friends where the golden retriever sits on the chair at a table. I mean, that maybe is a bit OTT, but it happens.
If they can sit there and be well behaved, kudos to them. They deserve
right.
it. Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that table manners, though.
Right. I was gonna say that's the thing is they might have better table manners than some people, depending on the trainer. Too. Yeah.
That's true too. So the younger generation, you're also the younger generation. How do you see what are going to be the needs that generation will have?
The needs?
Yeah, of the generation of the new dog owner. Let's say the person 30, 35, today.
Yeah, no, I think kind of like you said, it's going down that humanization category, right? Really, you're seeing a lot more of the human grade, cook at home, kind of those brands are really taking off.
Yeah, farmer's dog.
Right.
Yeah.
But also I think too, like you said, down the line of humanization, that's a little bit of kind of what we went with for our toppers, right? Is, you think of food at home as a human, if something doesn't quite taste right, like you sprinkle a little salt over the top, sprinkle a little seasoning here and there on top of it. And so we kind of had that similar thought with the toppers, right? Is, well, dogs and cats, they're not always going to love the food that they are given there. Some days they do, some days they don't. So sometimes putting a little sprinkling, a little extra seasoning over the top, can
Helps.
help them out. Yeah, help them finish the bowl.
What do you think, Peter, what role will technology play in the future in this space? What can you see?
I would say that technology is going to play a similar role that it plays in, overall industry, right? Really driving efficiency, trying to move out additional waste that may be in the overall process, right? And I do think that honestly, the pet industry category is growing very, very fast. I think that there's going to be a hyper focus on pet and really innovating on the technology side coming up here. I think that we've created a lot of human innovations that help us out with the technology that help us out in our day-to-day lives, and kind of the pet side hasn't been focused in on it as much.
Are you talking about, like, for example, excuse me to interrupt you, like wearables and stuff like that?
Yeah, like the health and well-being, the tracking of everything. I think that's going to be a huge area coming up, is because we have our watches, our Fitbit, our Fitsta, all of that, to track our weight, track our heart, all that. I think that the focus on health and all that is only going to become more intensified on the pet side, and I think that that's going to be something that pet owners and people are gonna really focus on and keep track of a lot closer.
Can you imagine marrying something you're doing in that space with a technology?
A little bit, yeah. So I could see us, offering, some cat, feeding tools, dog or cat feeding tools, right? That, as the animal comes up, you get to track how much they eat, track the overall fat content and everything associated to it, and feed that information to vets. I think that probably offering more of a breakdown on a per treat basis would be something too.
That's really an interesting thought right there, because I think that's often completely underestimated, right? You go to the vet and the vet tells you your dog is overweight, and people go, well, I'm just feeding it whatever, a cup a day or whatever, but they discount all the little treats they give them, right?
Right.
Here and a piece of cheese there, and
right. Yeah. And that's something that honestly from the start is kind of what we were founded on, was that low calorie, healthy training treat, so that you feel good about it. But even offering more of that information on a per treat basis to give more ease of mind, right? And then we have like the Furbo machines, we have all those, right, where you can see how many treats you spit out at a time. Right. So you could really be tracking it that way too, then, right? You say, hey, at a certain time, or for certain things, really rewarding 5 treats. Yes. And that 5 treats relates to X amount of calories and X amount of fat. And so similar to the human health explosion, kind of tracking on that.
Yes, and I think that's something which North America is actually stronger in than Europe. In Europe, we do not really talk about calories in dog food. Whereas in the US, you will always find the calorie information on the dog food. It's actually very interesting. I find that is always a big difference, and it's actually a very important parameter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, for sure. That's something that, we're, again, because of the fact that we're a low calorie dog treat, it's something that we're very cognizant of, is, hey, how many, calories per bag, how many calories per treat, are we on here? Because that was our original selling point, right? Was low calorie. So if we differ and get away from that, we kind of get away from our roots in a way.
Nice. So basically, you're really keeping this value of the brands up, which is really important, Peter.
Yes. Yeah. It's always hard. It's hard to do it, but the the hard things in life are always the ones that are worth sticking up for and standing up for.
Yeah, exactly. If you had like to finalize this interview, if you have like one wish for this industry, what would it be?
One wish for the industry, I think, would be just kind of like we talked about, more of that focus on the health and well-being of animals overall.
Yeah.
I think that it is the way that the industry is starting to go, that focus. But I think even more so, I think that we're really only scratching the surface with a lot of the benefits that we can offer our animals, and that in a few years' time, I think the life expectancy of our pets is just going to get greater and greater, similar to how the life expectancy of our own, based on medical innovations and all that.
Yes.
So I think that's something that I would love to see going forward, is the life extension of some happy pets.
Yes. Lifestyle, longevity, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Peter, for your time. I know in your busy schedule, I really value you for that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, and I'll see you around soon.
Sounds good. See you, Peggy.
Bye.